Hello everyone and welcome back to our course. In this lecture, we're going to continue analyzing our data set by visualizing more features. All right, so let's look at the histogram again more into detail. We had a quick brief overview about the histogram previously. We saw that we could count the frequency of values. All right, we can also create a more nuanced histogram by calling pyplot.hist. I can grab one of the values from my data set, like for example, the high price of the stock, and I can actually set how many bins I want. For example, I could do 100 bins. Then I could call pyplot.show to generate the histogram for me. And I specified 100 bins, so that's going to give me 100 different bars showing me on the Y is the frequency and on the X is the high price. So I'm just going to add that to make it clear for you. The X label is the high price of stock. Then the pyplot.y label, that is the frequency of price range. So if I run this code cell, I'll just have those labels added. So the frequency is from a range of 0 to 230, and the X has a range of 0 to 730. So that was the range of the price of the stock, and we can see the number of times that the stock hit a certain price. The most frequent price was about 55. Here I'm estimating. All right, next up, let's build another plot, which is going to be very similar to a histogram, but it's going to be called a density plot. So it's like a histogram, but with a line instead. So let me show you. We're going to grab our data set and use the plot function. The kind is going to be density. Subplots is equal to true. The layout will have a 3x3 graph layout. Share X will set to false. And share Y we can optionally set as well. Then I'll call pyplot.show and I will run my code cell. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I set the size as well. So I'm going to set my fig size to equal 20, 20. So that means it's going to be larger for us. Then I'll let that cell run, and here we go. Okay, so we have what's similar to a histogram. For example, if you go to the high column here, it's very similar to our histogram. But this time we have a range. So we have density on our y-axis from 0 to 0.01. Then on the x here, we have a range of about negative 300 to 1,000. And we can see the density that items appeared. All right, as well, here we have for categorical values as well density. For example, for the decrease, which was whether the volume decreased or increased that day, we have peak density at 0 and 1, which makes sense because we only had values 0 or 1 in that column. And same for buy. For buy, we only had values -1 and 1, so therefore we have the peaks or the local maxima. Those are at -1 and 1. And for returns, well, returns, you'll recall in our returns data set, we had all the values be in a range of -0.2 to +0.2. You can just look for that here. We can see our range, or even smaller than that, honestly. All of our ranges were really close to 0. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So that is how we can build out a density plot. Very useful. Next, we can also show the frequency at which different values appeared with a pyplot. So let's do that. Let's make another code cell and let's make a pyplot. I'm going to call pyplot.py. The first argument I'm going to pass in is the sizes. So for sizes, I'm going to define an X, which was my stock prices. So I'm going to grab stock prices and use the I location at index 0. And I can actually just print this for you to show you what that is. Here we go. Sizes is our open, high, low, and edge close. All right, then I'm going to call pyplot.py. I'm going to pass in sizes. I also need labels. This is my column names. So we do have to define our column names. Which columns do we want to use for the pyplot? Well, we're going to use the numerical values. So the stock prices. Those were open, high, low, and adjusted close. We could use close as well, but that's very similar to adjusted close. All right, and as well, I'm going to set my auto percent, which is how many decimal places do I want the percentage to be formatted to. I'm going to do 2F because typically you only need 2 decimal places of accuracy. All right, so then I can call pyplot.show, and I'm going to run this code cell. Oh, I just think I spelled this wrong. Yeah, auto percent, auto PCT. There we go. Okay, and here we go. This is our results. So we have high, open, low, and edge close. Each is colored differently in the pie chart, and we have a value at each to show us the distribution. So there's approximately 25% per each column, which makes sense because we should have one of those per day. All right, and those are more plots that we can build. Now, coming up next, I'm going to show you another library other than pyplot, which is from Matplotlib. I'm going to show you the Seaborn library, which can build even more complex plots. So join me in the next lecture where we will continue our project.